Well, I think the Ravens are looking like one of the best teams in football right now. Um,
Did you hear that,
pretty hard,
insider?
pretty hard to deny.
It's a little bit of
Pretty
love.
hard to deny.
I don't know how to do
A little
that.
bit of love.
A little bit of love.
Geometry's hard, man. I get
How
it.
do you do that?
Pop, what's going on, man?
Just a regular old day as a Washington football fan.
Man, what a day to have a podcast. What a day to have a day. This has been a crazy day. This has been one of the wilder days in Commanders fandom in a long time, Washington football fandom, probably since the sale. This is some of the biggest news we have, or maybe since hiring Eric Bieniemy. But let's get right into it. We're gonna do a couple things today. It's going to be basically an emergency pod talking about the trade at the beginning. I know we told you we were going to do power rankings, but we're going to skip those. We're going to push those off to next week because this is just more important. It's more exciting. So we got the emergency trade pod at the beginning, and then we're going to hit you with our pregame pod. Get ready for the Patriots. Stick around for all your favorite segments, the keys, the scouting report, all that stuff. And then, of course, that Bada Bets is coming to you after that. We couldn't bring you guys a midweek pod without the Bada Bets. So be prepared for all that. That's a little housekeeping at the top of this thing. Since there's some abnormalities going on, y'all are probably wondering what's happening. That's what's going on for this week. So, Pop, the headline is
Huge news.
huge news.
Huge.
Washington Commanders trade Montez Sweat and Chase Young, both defensive ends. If you're wondering what's in my cup back here, it's muscle milk. I'm getting ready for my tryout. I'm going to start bulking up. Sweat goes to the Chicago Bears for their second round pick, currently the 34th, I think, maybe 35th, 34th pick in the draft. Chase Young going to the 49ers for a compensatory third rounder. So it's basically like that late third round. It's almost like there's a round between the third and the fourth round nowadays where all those comp picks are.
Right.
But essentially a late third rounder, which is, I think Young was probably the bigger surprise. I think if you were keeping up, you kind of figured Sweat was going to go. And I think maybe the fact that both of them got traded is the biggest surprise here. But, real quick, Pop, before I get your reaction, let's look at the State of the Union. Commanders, 9 picks in the 2024 draft. They're going to have 5 over the course of the first 3 rounds, 2 in the second, 2 in the third, and a first, of course. And then you got James Smith-Williams, Casey Tuhill, F.A. Obata, Andre Jones, and K.J. Henry looking to take over those positions. You figure Smith-Williams and Tuhill will be the guys going forward, the main guys, but they like to rotate that D-line a lot. So I think we'll probably see all these guys, Andre Jones and K.J. Henry, obviously rookies. Where are you at, Pop? How you feeling?
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. I guess Andre Jones kind of flashed in the preseason. We haven't really seen him since, but um, yeah, I think I wasn't at all surprised with Sweat. And I thought that was a great deal getting the Bears second round pick. It's somebody said it extremely well. I was reading about it and said you essentially got 4.5 years of production out of Sweat and then got a draft pick pretty close to where you picked him originally in the draft. And that's, good personnel management. And Chase was a real surprise. My thinking and, now the reporting comes out afterwards and you kind of give it a second thought. But my thinking was they have to get more for Chase than they got for Sweat. And I thought that was kind of problematic. You think he's the better of the two talents. But then there's reporting that comes out to say they actually wanted to keep Sweat, and it was Chase who they were shopping for various reasons that we can get into. But the offer was just too good for Sweat to pass up. But yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's surprising. It's a little sad. I was probably a little more prepared for the Sweat news, and see Chase go, especially after being second round pick, local kid. Um, it's another one of those instances. I remember when we talked about this in the preseason, I drew the parallel between Chase and RG3. I said, it's just one of those situations, second pick in the draft, injury, so much promise, defensive rookie of the year, offensive rookie of the year. But it just seemed like one of those situations. And I think you could check the tape on this where I said it just didn't seem like it was going to end, you know, well, where he has his long career in Washington, that it was going to go down a different path. It was just that vibe. He did show um, some promise this year of looking like the old Chase. Wasn't a great game, this last week. Um, but yeah, just, surprising, like you said, that they would, you know, I thought the next possibility was Jacoby, once Sweat was traded. So definitely didn't expect them both to go.
Yeah, on the Jacoby news, I guess I don't know if it was officially reported by JP or if this is more just JP talking on the pod, but JP did say out loud on a public platform they were offered a sixth for Jacoby. That wasn't quite enough. And I agree. I don't think that's enough at that point to use sixth and seventh round. These are guys that you're filling out backup spots and practice squad guys. I don't think that's enough to give up that security in the backup quarterback and that locker room mentorship. Um, but just a little nugget there, just to stay more on topic here in terms of the Sweat stuff. I think for me, I was about to say this before we recorded the pod, and then I said, "What are we doing? We're about to record a pod. Let me just talk about it on the pod." I'm sad to see it happen at the expense of two guys in Montez and particularly Chase Young. But man, am I excited that we have a real organization now. I think this is a symptom of the change that's happened in ownership here. This is what real teams do. They're active around these times of years. They're making big changes. They're addressing issues, diagnosing them, and aggressively attacking solutions. That's what this is. This is saying, look, we've got 40 million a year tied up in our defensive line already. Are we going to make
Right.
that 60? I don't think we're going to make that 60 with these guys. I don't think these guys are worth turning that into 60 million. So you know what? Let's let them go. And when you're looking at the cap space that we have for next year, it's somewhere around that 91, $92 million figure. I was always kind of calculating, okay, that's going to be closer to 65, 70 once we pay one of these guys because I figured one of them is going to stay around. But now you look at they're both going to be gone. We have that whole $91 million. There's guys like Brian Branch out there. Should we want to bring in another elite defensive end that has far outproduced the two of them that are going to be free agents? And he's only 25, so only a year older than Chase Young. That's an option. And then we can build on the offensive line. We can build in the secondary. We can build a linebacker. Should we see enough out of Smith Williams and Hill to go, wait a second, maybe we don't have a top three defensive line in terms of talent, but we certainly can hang in that top 10 realm and we can bolster in some of the other holes where we're so exploitable that it brings our whole defense down. Because an important point, I tweeted it out earlier today on our Twitter account. We were bottom five in the league, 29th and 31st in points allowed, um, overall defense, and like passer rating, those kinds of things. These really key things that having a great pass rusher had a little bit of a brain fart there, wasn't ready to pull those stats out. But check our Twitter account to see it. Um, those really
Bottom
key
line, defense has
stats.
been
Defense has been terrible
they're at the
with both
bottom
of
of
them
the league.
healthy.
Yeah.
With both of them healthy and playing. So, I don't think it's necessarily an issue, although there are some reports coming out that we'll talk about in a second. I don't think it's necessarily an issue of the fact that Chase Young and Montez are the guys playing out there as much as it is the scheme and the fact that these guys are not put in position to succeed because they don't have linebackers that can cover. They don't have cornerbacks that can cover. If they can't get to the quarterback in 2.5 seconds, they're not going to win. It's that kind of situation. But at the same time, we can't get worse mathematically on defense. We cannot. It's
Yeah,
impossible.
it's a tough
Or
part.
it's
You bring
about.
up a great point. Like, it's a tough part of it. Is it the coaching or is it the player?
Yeah.
But I think that I still see a lot of troubling, and you can talk about it as sort of armchair quarterback and after the fact. But I expressed some of these concerns on the post game pod with Chase that he looks undisciplined in
Yeah.
many of his rushes.
Yep.
He was not staying in his rushing lane very well. He was cutting inside, and he didn't really make much of an impact on that game. And you know, I look at it as the one thing I thought earlier, like maybe Chase could argue that he's not getting the coaching he should, but Deron Payne seemed perfectly fine with it, to wanting to re-sign with the Commanders, and he's someone that makes an impact game in, game out, even after signing the big contract. So
Yep.
I wished I'd look. I wanted things to work out for Chase here, especially Chase,
Me too. Yeah.
um, and Montez, and they both seem like great young men. But I think you nailed it. At the end of the day, I mean, there's going to be rumors swirling, and the one quote that we'll get into about Chase, but I think it's the analytics, right? I mean, Josh Harris just hired an analytics guy, and he basically said, "We're not going to pay, um, these two guys. We're not going to be able to keep either one of them because we've already invested so much in our defensive line. Maybe we like some of the young talent that's behind them. I mean, they drafted two defensive ends in this past draft. Not that I trust this regime's draft choices very much. But I think came down to that. It came down to the analysis around where do we want to spend that 90 million, and it's not on these two guys. And maybe we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Does Chase want to get out of town? I mean, does he not want to be here? Been some rumors around that. So the only thing that I would say is I didn't love the value we got for Chase. I absolutely love the value we got for Montez. I wonder if we were more patient with Chase and some sort of sign and trade and situation in the offseason could have worked itself out, that compensation could have even been better. It definitely feels like some validation to some of the rumors or the chatter around them wanting to get rid of Chase because they just didn't feel like it was a good fit, whether in the locker room or his ability to take coaching and adapt, because it does seem like they kind of just dumped him for less than what I would see as being his value.
Well, it's just so hard to determine Chase's value at this point, right? Because he missed an entire year, almost 2 years. He played, I think, 10 games before that ACL injury, so he missed about half of that year, and then, or a third, or however you want to do the math, of that year. And then he missed the entirety of the year after, essentially. And what you saw was some big splash plays towards the end of his rookie year in 2020, huge regression in 2021, a career threatening injury, and then more regression after he came back. He has not been he's been good. He has not been number 2 pick overall good. He's been like, if you get this guy in the second round, you're like, "Oh, well, we might have found a stud." He's been that kind of good. So, it's hard to get, and especially for a, 6-game rental at this point, or 10-game rental, it's hard to get a ton of value. So, I'm not mad at it. I think you get what you can get, and that's it. San Francisco is a puzzling place because, I mean, what else do they need over there in terms of pass rushing? But we'll see. I'm interested to see how they use them, and maybe if some of my predictions about how he should be used are correct.
How
But
are they
let's
going to
get
pay
into.
him? How are they going to pay Chase? That's an interesting
They're
thing I
not.
thought of. Yeah.
They're not. I think their defense has struggled a little bit, and I think they're in a position where they're looking at Brock Purdy, and they're going, for all the defending I've done of him the last 3 weeks, I gave him the kiss of death. And I think they're looking at him and they're going, we're going to need an elite defense to win a Super Bowl with this guy. Let's make a swing this year. Let's see what we can do.
Fair point.
And
In the
they're
late
going to
third
make that
might be worth
swing. And I think,
compensatory pick might be worth
yep.
that.
And I think Chase Young's going to be an Atlanta Falcon next year. I think that's how that's going to go. But anyways, let's.
Crystal ball.
There's one quote, a little bit of crystal ball action there. One quote that stood out to us was per Ben Standing. He said, according to another team source, the Commanders hope to keep Sweat, but the value of the Bears offer proved too good. The team views the trade of Chase Young as potential addition by subtraction. So not
crazy.
to get too rumor milly and X, Y, and Z, but it does bring up maybe that's where some of that trade value came up, and they were happy to almost deal him for a fourth because it's like, what are we gonna do? We got to just
I
get
think
this guy out of here. Deadline's coming up. Let's just get something.
In the words of the great Bill Belichick, we got to get on to Cincinnati here soon.
Speaking of Bill Belichick.
The New England Patriots. But I say maybe just a couple closing thoughts from me, and then if you want to do the same, I think just to be a fly on the wall, I'm so interested in knowing who's calling the shots. Diana Rossini put a tweet out that it was definitely ownership and that the people in the building didn't want to get rid of the two guys, that they still believe in this team. That's just insane. Now, I mean, you'd expect the current regime to say that, and it's good to hear that they're still fighting. And then, the second question around what does it mean the rest of the season? I don't think they're tanking. Just trading these two guys isn't a tank move to me because I do think there's pretty quality depth behind them. It's going to be interesting to see if the defense improves. It could happen. And John Keim had a really sharp point. He talked about the way they scheme with Chase and Montez and without them, and the fact that they'll add a couple of more blitz packages and get a bit more creative when they're not in the lineup. And sometimes the defense actually performs better. So it's interesting, but maybe that dynamic shows improvement. So I don't think the season is tanked by any means just because of those two players, not being on the team. But it does show a clear direction, for where they're looking out for next year, right?
Yeah,
without a doubt.
That's a wild quote by John Keim.
Yeah,
I mean, it's 100% accurate, but that's hilarious. I mean, I was chuckling. That's
very insightful, right?
You got the defensive coach coaches better when his star players are out because he actually tries to do his job. So I wonder if we can send Jack Del Rio somewhere, and we'll include a comp pick with Jack Del Rio. If somebody needs a linebackers coach or somebody to mix the Gatorade or something like that. But we'll see how that turns out.
But maybe there's something to be said for being able to trust the player to do what you're asking them to do.
That's
maybe that's what they get more of. I don't know.
That's a good point. It's all water under the bridge now. But yeah, I'm with you on all your closing thoughts, Bob. I say we get on to the Pats. Let's
do
move
it.
On here. I know this
is Cincinnati.
This is the big headline for today, but we do have to play a football game this Sunday, believe it or not. So my scouting report for the Patriots is pretty simple. This is a team that is coached by Bill Belichick, so they're going to play good defense. They're not going to make a ton of mistakes. They also have Mac Jones at quarterback, so they're going to turn the ball over, and things are going to look a little sloppy on the offensive side of the ball. Ramondre Stevenson's a stud, has yet to get it going this year. The run game in general in New England has been pretty terrible, and the game through the air has been just about as bad. But where they are always good is defensively, particularly in coverage. So we'll see how this goes. It's going to be an interesting game. I don't love this matchup personally, and we'll get into that maybe in the three keys or a little bit later in the prediction. But yeah, I'm not in love with this matchup. But a key scouting tidbit here is one of our regular viewers is going to be in attendance. Our Boston insider is going to be in attendance at this Patriots game,
We flipped them.
Wearing Commanders gear. This guy grew up a Patriots fan, and the Diamond Pop podcast. Now this poor guy is going to be in the stands in a Terry McLaurin jersey. So let's go out there and represent.
Right.
Shall we do
I
our Shall we
agree.
do our three keys?
Yep, we should.
Yeah. So we're going a little bit off the cuff here. Most of the pre-production was spent on talking about the trade stuff and getting ready for that. But the three keys is going to be pretty boilerplate stuff, pretty stuff that you guys expect to hear from us every week. Number one is got to be the offensive game plan, right? Get ready for the quick game. Be ready. Belichick's going to bring pressure and he's going to disguise coverages. He's really going to try to confuse the rookie quarterback. And, we'll get into this maybe in the predictions, but Bill Belichick versus a rookie quarterback is a tough place. So let's try and make this as easy on Howell as possible. Number two key is got to be the defense. Got to rally. Let's see that defense take a step forward. Let's get all those hilarious tweets about how we're better without so and so and this, that, and the other that, you know, I don't know, may prove to be true. Of course, probably aren't true, but let's get that defense to rally. We got to get to Mac Jones, force him to throw the ball and bring the pressure because Mac Jones will throw the ball to the wrong team under pressure. That will happen 100% of the time. So there should be some good takeaways there. And then number three, of course, we've been saying it for 109 episodes now. Complementary football. That's going to be the key. Complementary football. We gotta play good defense, put the offense in good situations, and the offense got to keep the defense off the field, especially now in the situation that we're in. We can't rely on these 4 first-round draft picks to just wake up out of nowhere. We're going to need a little more help from the offense. So those are our 3 keys for this week. Pop, got anything you want to add to that or elaborate on?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think just the first key, right? The offensive game plan. I think Bill Belichick's going to look at that Giants tape. He is, and I think that's the recipe he's going to try to dial up for this game. So being ready for that and the offensive game plan has to be a lot better than it was in the Giants game. Let's get the ball out of Sam's hands quickly. You're going to have to change it up a little bit from the Eagles game because they'll study that tape, try to shut down what you did there. So we're going to have to be creative. But that offensive game plan and being ready for what Bill Belichick throws at us is going to be big. And then just on the theme of the defense rallying, it's going to be interesting to see how this locker room reacts. You saw some tweets from Cam Curl. It didn't look like he was too thrilled with it. So how do they react to two of their brothers, not being on the team anymore? Do they take it on and say, hey, next man up, we're going to prove that we're a really good defense with or without them? Or does it really cause an issue from a, performance perspective for that defense? And so, yeah, those are a couple little extra points I'd add in there.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see. Cam Curl's tweets were obviously a little on the cryptic side. I would add, if his team's doing the right thing, Cam, today was a pretty good day
Hopefully
for
he
you
gets
because I think
paid.
you're one
Yeah,
step closer to getting paid. I think you're
yeah,
one step closer to getting paid. And that out of all the guys that might come back or might not, that's the guy that I want to pay. But that's for another episode.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I think it's a
Predictions.
great bit. I think it's a great bit about the defense rallying and I think, yeah, like you said, let's get on to predictions. Pats minus 3.5. Pop, what do you like?
I'm gonna go with our boys. It's a homer
Wow.
pick. I'll admit it. It's the Pats that they haven't been very good. I know we've said it the way this team has played inconsistently. Um, but if we play our game, it's a game we should win. We're a better football team than New England if we play our game.
Yeah.
So I'm going to
I
stick with our team. What we're actually going to do in the game, it's anybody's guess. We seem to be on this every other week deal. And, are we going to come ready to play? Who the heck knows? I'd
yeah,
like us to win and make it a season. I would really like that to happen as a fan.
yeah. I mean,
I'm not into tanking.
the Pats have been exactly like us this year, frankly. It's you don't know what team you're gonna get from them. Some Sundays look good, some Sundays look bad. I mean, they started off the year, they almost beat the Eagles in that week 1 game. It was close. They had a couple opportunities. And then you see they beat the Bills and they also got blown out 34-0 by the Saints. So it's just you have no idea
Crazy.
what Patriots team you're going to get on any given Sunday, and we also have no idea what Commanders team we're going to get. So my advice would be stay away from your hard-earned money. Don't
Without
put
a
it on this
doubt.
game. So if you haven't learned already, but really don't put it on this game. That being said, Belichick at home against the young quarterback that unfortunately we haven't seen him put two good games back to back yet. I would love to see that happen, and I'm going to be rooting for that to happen. But my integrity as a reporter here, I'm going to take the Pats.
I want to say this to that comment. We haven't seen this team put two good games back to back yet.
100%.
Just on
100%.
saying. But I would agree with you, and it's contradicting my pick. So my pick's a homer pick and a vibe pick. But I think being an insider in terms of watching this team, if anybody's watching this pod is not a Commanders fan, or if you're planning to put some Scott Old on this game, this sets
No.
up so well. This sets up so well for a Patriots win.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does. All the signs would point towards a Patriots win because it's Bill Belichick, his strength against our offense. It's kind of like their strength against our strength, which crazily enough is our offense, but our offense isn't real consistent. And then our weakness, which has been our defense against their weakness. So who are you going to trust from a coaching point of view to put a scheme together to win this game?
Yeah.
So
that's the bottom line there.
It definitely sets up, but I'm going to stick with our boys.
Yeah, I like it. I like it, Pop. I respect the homer pick, and I would say just to go off of a feel and a vibe thing to me, this just feels like a classic Washington football egg laying week. Coming off that Eagles, all the off season, all the off the field news. This boils down to I mean, what did
But
we do
who
after the
knows?
last
It's a
first
new
half of the
era,
season?
son. I would
Playing a bad
agree.
team.
2022's Commanders with the old regime in charge, but maybe Josh Harris rolled up his sleeves, went into that locker room and said, "You're all on notice. You got 8 games, put some tape up, come ready to play."
Maybe.
It's a new regime.
Maybe. I hope so. I think my guess would be he probably sent Magic down there to say that, but might be a little more effective coming out of Magic. But either way, yeah. So Pop's taking the Commanders. I'm going to take the Pats. That minus 3.5 line there, and we are going to do some more predictions to wrap up this podcast, guys. You know it, you love it, you can't live without it. This is the Bada Bets for NFL Week 9. Pop is throwing in a bonus 6 games.
This is by far the set of games as we go through it, because this kind of operates as a little bit of the preview of the week, plus we pick the games. What a great group of games that we're having this Sunday. It's by far, I think, the best Sunday of the season so far in terms of the quality of the games that are going to be played. Pats, Commanders notwithstanding.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know what? I'm annoyed now because I'm looking at Dolphins Chiefs happening at 6:30 in the morning Pacific Standard Time.
I knew you were going to complain.
I mean, come on, that's like the game of the year so far. Are you going to put it in Germany? What does Germany have to do with football, man? What are we doing? What does Germany have to do with football? That is ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. Wow, what a waste. Thursday Night Football, Titans at Steelers.
You're not going to recap the record?
Excuse me. We're a little Ron Burgundy here.
It was a winning week for the two of us.
Germany thing. Both of us came out 3-2 there. Pop went 22-18-1 on the year. I'm 21-19-1, so still
pretty
just
solid.
one game behind you there, Pop. So Titans.
There's a good chance to make it up this week. 6 games.
6 games. We'll see. Titans at Steelers Thursday Night Football. Steelers are 3-point favorites. What do you like there, Pop?
Titans at Steelers. I'm going to go Steelers.
I am going to go Steelers as well. Although, watch out for that young man Will Levis down in Tennessee. If he wins this game, The NFL's on notice. But I think the
Woo!
Steelers have a good defense, young quarterback. I'm going to take the Steelers at home.
Are you
And
going to
every time
call
I
him
do
the
that, I
GOAT if
lose.
he gets a
So,
second win?
oh yeah, I'm going to come on here and pronounce him going to the Hall of Fame. That's what I do. 9:30 Sunday morning on the East Coast, 6:30 on the West Coast. I mean, do we get paid to watch this game? Am I going to get a 1099 in January for waking up at 6:30 in the morning to watch
Hey,
this?
I'll be eating my waffles and watching a little football. I'm not complaining.
This is ridiculous. I'll be dreaming about Sam Howell throwing for 450 yards against the Pats. Dolphins at Chiefs. Chiefs 2.5 point favorites in Germany. What a waste of a good game. Pop, what do you got?
Chiefs. Think they
Yeah.
bounce back.
Oh, I'm gonna zag here. I'm gonna take the Fins. Pat coming off of the flu, flying all the way across
He's
the
all
world to go
better
play
now.
some football. Me and Pat are not on good terms right now. He's been screwing over my fantasy
With,
team, so
with,
I'm
with
taking the
me as
Fins.
well, but I
I'm
think they're
taking
going
the
to
Fins
hop
here.
on Taylor Swift's private plane, him and Kelsey. They're going to be fine.
We'll see. I think international games are usually gritty, ugly, defensive games. I don't think either team really gets going. I think, you're getting a little bit of plus money. That's why I'm taking the Fins there. Probably a bad pick, but I'm going to roll with the boys.
I'm not
Sunday,
surprised you're picking them. I kind of expected that you would.
they've done well for me so far this year, so you got to
That's a
feed the
good
hot
pick.
hand.
Good
Sunday,
pick.
1 o'clock,
Somebody's going to get their
Seahawks.
third loss between those two teams. That's a
There you
tie,
go.
of course.
Sunday, 1 o'clock, Seahawks at Ravens. Ravens 5.5 point favorites at home. What do you like there? See, that's happening in the United States of America where football should be played.
Yeah,
What do you
down
like
up
there,
the
Pop?
road, here. Um, I'm tempted to take the Hawks, but and we've got to fly out there next week, so I'm glad that they're kind of on the road this week. But I think the Ravens are rolling. I'm gonna stick with the Ravens there.
I mean, NFL, what are we doing here schedule wise? Why couldn't we get the Seahawks game at home? They're already flying out to Baltimore. What
Fair.
are we doing here? Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and take the Ravens there as well. I think the Ravens are looking like one of the best teams in football right now.
Did you hear that,
Pretty hard,
insider?
pretty hard to deny.
It's a little bit of
Pretty
love.
hard to
Patrick.
deny.
I don't know how to do
A little
that.
bit of love.
A little bit of love.
Geometry's hard, man. I get
How do
it.
you do that?
I
There you
get it.
go.
It's
I
they
don't
go
know.
like
It's
that, the
weird.
two fingers. But Cowboys at Eagles Sunday at 4 o'clock. Eagles are 3 point favorites here. This is going to be a big game. Um, I'd almost surprised this isn't Sunday night. Pop, what do you take here?
I'm going to go with the Eagles. I
Yeah,
feel like they're, obviously been an impressive season and home game. I think I like the Eagles there. Cowboys are
respect.
playing well as well.
I was just about to say Cowboys are not slouches by any means.
No.
I'll take the Eagles because they're at home. I still feel like the Cowboys and the Eagles might split this one this year, but I'll take the Eagles because they're at home. Sunday Night Football, Bills at Bengals. Bengals 2.5 point favorites. That's going to be a great game. I think the Bengals are finally looking like the Bengals again, and they're at home. And the Bills, you never know what team you're going to get week to week with
Yeah.
them, but I think against good competition like the Bengals, you'll see this team get up. What do you think happens there, Pop?
I'm going to go Bengals. I feel like they're the hotter, more consistent team right now. It's a tough one, but I'm going to go Bengals.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. I think I'm going to go Bengals. I think I mean, obviously the situation, everybody knows about the Damar Hamlin situation last year with this game, but the start of that game, Cincinnati looked like they were going to run through the Bills. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Bengals here. I think they're finally getting their groove. Jamar Chase is just blacked out right now, and I don't think the Bills have an answer for that. Monday Night Football, Chargers -3 at the Jets. What do you like there, Pop?
For our New York insider, Jets, Jets. I think Chargers looked
Whoa.
a little bit more like they should look last week, but they're having to go on the road against that defense. I'm going Jets. I think it's going to be an ugly game. I think the Jets are going to ugly up that game and pull it out.
Yeah, Commanders fans, as frustrating as it's been watching Ron Rivera coach this team, imagine if it was Brandon Staley. I'm taking the Jets. I just have no faith in
Jets are 4 and
that
3.
coaching
Aaron
staff.
Rodgers is throwing balls. They say he's coming back this season.
Listening to Dolphins and throwing footballs. He might be back. It's something to look out for. We'll see.
So, son, we only got one game different. We were in complete vibe mode, flow state, whatever other terminology you youngins would use this week. Only the Finns and Chiefs are different, so gonna be tough up. Well, you could tie me then. That's the game. That's the pivotal game to see if you catch me.
Good.
Is the
I'll
Chiefs Finns game? You
in
better
La La
wake
Land
up.
for it.
You better wake up.
That's gonna set the tone for my week. I'm gonna wake up and see that, But you know what? Here's the thing. I got a lot invested in Mahomes and Kelsey in fantasy, so if I wake up and I see that the Chiefs won by 2 million points, that's a good day for me. It means I won fantasy football. So
Remember what I say, always say. When you feel that tingle, your FanDuel account will jingle. Don't forget it, son.
No better words to wrap this thing up with. Guys, let us know what you think of all the trades, all the predictions, all that good stuff in the comments. It has been a crazy, crazy day to be a Commanders fan, but we're here. We're moving towards the future. We're rebuilding. Let's wrap this thing up. Without further ado, I'm Dom.
This is Pop.
Thanks for another great week, guys.